Hi, my name is Brianna, and the activity that I have chosen is spoken word poetry, which is a form of poetry that is meant to be read out loud as a type of performance for an audience. Some may know of spoken word as slam poetry, though oftentimes poetry slams are also contests, and for spoken word performances, there are no judges or winners. I would use this primarily for young adults because of the inevitable feelings of angst, love, loneliness, rage, and other emotions they feel so powerfully during this time and need an outlet for. When I was a teenager, I loved poetry directed at teens, and I wish I had known more about spoken word so that I could experience it and identify with it, possibly even create it, so I would want to provide this opportunity for today's young adults. One effective technique that powerpoetry.org listed also happens to lend perfectly to the reason that teens should be doing spoken word. This technique for writing poetry, as I would ask young adults to do for this activity, is to, quote, choose a subject and have attitude. No attitude, no poem. Feelings and opinions give poetry its richness, end quote. This is perfect for those wishing to channel their strong emotions during such a tough age. Other techniques include memorizing the poem and then working on the actual performance part of it. If a poem can't be memorized, teens can instead write it out in the way they would like to read it. This means that although the poems aren't written in the traditional rhyming way, they can still be broken into lines to determine the pacing. My activity would ideally consist of two parts. The first part would be having a workshop on how to write poetry that's meant to be performed, which would include watching YouTube videos of other spoken word poetry performances and even performing myself. That's what I'll be doing later on in my example, though I'll be performing the work of someone else. The second part would be the actual performance night, in which the teen space of the library would be set up to evoke the feelings of an open mic spoken word poetry night, to get teens in the right mood and make them feel even more confident and empowered. The poem that I will be performing is called When I Say That We Are All Teen Girls by Olivia Gatwood. And I feel it's perfect for teen girls and boys whom I would be reading for, because it elicits feelings of being understood and embraced as they are now. I think Olivia Gatwood has some wonderful poems directed at adults, but she also has some that make young adults feel heard and loved, and this is definitely one of them. I would perform this during the first part of the activity to give the teen participants an idea of how spoken word poetry looks and sounds in person. When I say that we are all teen girls, what I mean is that when my grandmother called to ask why I didn't respond to her letter, all I heard was, "Why didn't you text me back? Why don't you love me?" And how can I talk about my grandmother without also mentioning that if everyone is a teen girl, then so are the birds, their soaring clicks, their squawking throats, and the sea. Of course, the sea, it's moody, push and pull, the way we drill into it, fill it with our trash, take and take and take from it, and still it holds us each time we call its name. What is more teen girl than not being loved, but wanting it so badly that you accept the smallest crumb and call yourself full? What is more teen girl than my father's favorite wrench, its eternal loyalty and willingness to loosen the most stubborn of bolts? What is more teen girl than my mother's chewed nail beds, than the whine of the floorboards in her house? What is more teen girl than my dog Jack, whose bark is shrill and unnecessary, who has never stopped a burglar or healed on command, but sometimes when I laugh, his tail wags so hard that it thumps against the wall. Sometimes it sounds like a heartbeat. Sometimes I yell at him for talking too much, for his messy room. Sometimes I put him in pink striped polos and I think he feels pretty. I think he likes to feel pretty. I think Jack is a teen girl. And the mountains, oh, the mountains. What teen girls they are, those colossal show-offs. And the moon, glittering and distant and dictating all of our emotions. My lover's tender but heavy breath while she sleeps is a teen girl. How it holds me and keeps me awake all at once. How sometimes I wish to silence it until she turns her body and the room goes quiet and suddenly I want it back. Imagine the teen girls gone from our world and how quickly we would beg for their return. How grateful would we be then for their loud enthusiasm and ability to make a crop top out of anything. Even the men who laugh their condescending laughs when a teen girl faints at the sight of her favorite pop star, Even those men are teen girls the way they want so badly to be big and important and worshipped by someone. Donald Trump, teen girl, and his tiny tweeting hands. Pluto, teen girl, and her rejection from the popular universe. And my father, a teen girl who insists he doesn't believe in horoscopes, but wants me to tell him the best traits of a Scorpio. I tell him we were all just teen girls. And my father, having raised me, recounts the time he found a box of love notes and condom wrappers I hid in my closet, all of the bloody sheets, and missing socks, and the radio blaring over my pitchy sobs the time I was certain I would die of heartbreak, and in a moment was in love with a small new boy. And of course, there are the teen girls, the real teen girls, huddled on the subway after school, limbs draped over each other's shoulders, bones knocking an awkward wind chime, and all of the commuters who plug in their headphones to mute the giggle silence, the gaggle and squeak, and not knowing where they learned to do this, roll their eyes and turn up the music, not knowing where they learned this palpable rage, not knowing the teen girls who are our most distinguished professors, who teach us to bury the bursts until we close our bedroom doors and then cry with blood in the neck, foot through the door and face in the pillow, the teen girls who teach us to scream.